What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and today it is my week 15 power rankings for the NFL. Thanks for coming back. Remember, the freest, quickest, and easiest way you can support my channel is by hitting the like and the subscribe button if you haven't done those things already. Easiest thing you can do. And of course, I want to hear about what you think of my power rankings in the comment section below. Boy, we got some red hot teams in the NFL, and I got a brand new team in the top 10, and I love putting them there. I was a big fan of theirs coming into the season. They started out slow, and now they're red hot. I think you guys kind of might know who I'm talking about, but let's get to it right now. So as always, we go 8 by 8, makes it easier for me to present, and we'll start with the bottom team, still Houston. They got real close with Dallas, came down to the wire, but I think that was more of Dallas falling asleep at the wheel type of a thing, and really taking Houston likely, looking in advance to the next couple of weeks. I know they play the Eagles, I believe, in 2 weeks. It's a Christmas game, and I think that they got a pretty tough one coming up next week as well. I can't quite remember who they're playing, but it was definitely, they were looking past Houston, and they almost got caught doing it, but they were able to recover there and get that win. Denver, God, they're so bad. Oh my God, they're terrible. I know they made a nice little run there at the end against Kansas City, but I think you can sort of chalk that up to the Chiefs were just playing back, trying not to make a humongous mistake, and Jerry Jeudy just played a great game. I think that was more of what happened than anything else. The Bears get to move up one just because Denver is terrible. I swapped the Rams and the Colts just because, the Rams with Baker, they're definitely better than a bottom 5 team. I don't know what it's going to look. We'll see with this next upcoming game, but I do think that they're better than the Colts, and I do think that they're better than the Panthers. And I would say the Panthers are also better than the Colts as well, especially the fact that they can have those games where they can compete with better teams. Seattle might be coming back down to earth a little bit as an overall team. But I still think that it says a lot about Carolina that they can pull these games out. They're kind of like a worse version of Jacksonville, who we'll see coming up soon. And I got the Cardinals and the Saints going down 1 each. I know Kyler's hurt. I don't know how much worse Arizona is without him. And that's not trying to take anything away from Kyler. I just think that their coaching staff is just pretty piss poor. So this is kind of just who they are, and talent-wise is this sort of team. I think that they need to get a new coach in there. I think just getting a new perspective on the offensive side of the ball would be very helpful to this team moving forward. I do think Kyler's the answer. It'll be interesting to see how long he's going to be out, though. This is a late point in the season to be getting an ACL injury. I think the Saints, Dennis Allen is the worst head coach in the NFL. Him and Todd Bowles, I think, are competing to be the worst head coaches in the NFL. They're so terrible. Their scheming is so bad. But yeah, that's where I put the Saints below the Cardinals. But I mean, if I was going to do a tie, I would probably tie Arizona and the Saints. Up next, I got Atlanta and the Raiders dropping. Desmond Ridder is going to be the new quarterback in Atlanta. So I think we're in for some growing pains there with the Falcons. They might drop down a bit. Doesn't mean that they're going to just give up on Ridder. I think it's just throwing him in there, see what you kind of got. And if he's not completely hopeless, if he shows some good stuff, then you might not have to worry about reaching for a quarterback or maybe trading for one in the offseason. Speaking of trading for a quarterback, Derek Carr, people are starting to talk about him getting moved. That's going to be an interesting offseason for the Raiders. Steelers move up one just from the droppings of some of these teams. I dropped Cleveland. Thank God. They're terrible. They deserve to be bad. Good. Tampa, I dropped down 2 spots. God, I said it last week. They had the comeback win, and I dropped them down a spot. And I said it last week. You can't play that bad for that long in a game and expect to just win at the end. The reason they were able to do it against the Saints is because the Saints are terrible. But then they ran into the 49ers and they got absolutely run off the field. Jacksonville, I move up 7 spots. They're the hardest team to rank. Some days, some weeks they look like a really good team. Other weeks they look like a really bad team. I think they've had the most mobility of any team in anyone's power rankings. I'm sure people had them at one point in the year as like the number probably top 12 team. I know I think I did early. And then there's probably guys, a lot of people that had them as a bottom 4 team. The Giants moved down a spot. Green Bay goes up 4 spots just based on the fact that I just started to really take in the team. They had the week off. And I just like them better than these teams for the rest of the season at least. Going forward, the Giants have a hard out, and they're an injury away at the wrong spot from being completely hopeless. And that's coming from a Giants fan. And I do like Green Bay better than Jacksonville, that's for sure. Just because Jacksonville, just like, what even is Jacksonville? But what even is Green Bay? But I just think that there's just more positive, high-quality players on Green Bay than on Jacksonville. And I'll address it immediately. Detroit is my number 10 team right now in the power rankings. There is not a more red-hot team in the NFL right now than Detroit. What a team. They're putting together a great end of the season. I love that the Dan Campbell style is starting to pay its dividends. It's starting to show that it was the right decision. Man, they were so great on Hard Knocks that you couldn't help but cheer for them. I'm glad they're playing as well as they are. They could sneak into the playoffs. They got the Giants and they got Washington right now, who I believe they're 2 games back from. I think it's 2 games back with 4 games left. Washington, New York, unless they tie again, one of those teams is going to get a win. So Detroit's going to have to win that and then probably have to win out, which is going to be difficult for them to do. But, I mean, if Washington, the Giants, lose out minus the game they play next week against each other, Detroit can get in. So that's going to be an interesting run there. I didn't move the Patriots anywhere. They won, but Kyler got hurt, and I know they're not that different of a team without Kyler, it seems, but it's hard to move them. I did drop the Jets, the Titans, the Seahawks, and the Dolphins. Miami might have gotten exposed a little bit. The formula might have been given out, and that's why I moved the Chargers up to number 9. I think they might have figured it out. The Chargers might have figured it out here late in the year at the expense of the Dolphins for the long term for the rest of the season. Not saying the Dolphins are going to collapse, but I think that the blueprint might have just been given out thanks to the Chargers, and I moved up Washington just because I had the Dolphins, the Seahawks, and the Titans, who I had ranked ahead of Washington last week, dropped down behind them, so they get to move up 1 even though they were on the bye week. And here are my top 8 teams. The Eagles still number 1. My 3rd, 4th, and 5th teams still the same. I just switched San Francisco and Minnesota. San Francisco, man, whoo, what a great team they're looking like. It's just, my head tells me that the Eagles would probably still beat them, but it's close. It's getting close. I moved up the Ravens because, man, even without Lamar, they still snuck one out. And then I'm moving up the Bengals +1. They're starting to settle in, it looks like. Also, Minnesota, they're so inconsistent. I do think that Dallas would beat them. I do think the Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs would beat them. There's just not a lot of consistency there. I think it's weird to say because they have so many veteran players on the roster. They have such quality at the skill positions as well. But they might be 1 year away from settling in and being a consistent top 3, top 4 team in the league. I think they're definitely overachieving this year. I had them ranked as like my 24th team in my original power rankings at the preseason. So I was definitely wrong about that. I'll hold the L for that one. But I think that people are getting a little bit ahead of themselves, myself included. I had them as my number 1 team a couple weeks ago. I had them as my number 2 team last week. So I think we got to start looking at this a little more rationally. They might be a year away. Need a couple more pieces in some key spots. I'm not saying move on from Kirk Cousins, but I am saying they need probably another receiver. Probably got to add some pieces there on the defense a bit to get some more consistent play out of them. But overall, the Eagles, they're a runaway freight train right now. And the 49ers, they'll breathe down their neck. That could be an NFC championship game, if you ask me. I think they'll finish as the 1 and the 2 seed in the NFC by the end of it all. So I think that'll be the matchup in Philadelphia probably for the NFC championship game. And there it is. All 32 teams ranked worst to last, first to worst, however you want to say it, for my Week 15 power rankings. And I will always have a mock draft to go along with this each and every week, so keep an eye out for that. But make sure to hit the like and the subscribe. It is the freest, easiest, and quickest thing you can do to help out my channel and help it grow. Let's get to that 1,000 by the end of the NFL season. That would be amazing progress, and I'd really appreciate it. So thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.